Hello and welcome back to First Thoughts. I'm Simon, and today I'm by myself giving my first thoughts on Marty Supreme.
Well, that was a movie.
So yeah, sorry Justin's not here today. I know, ruins everything. I'm by myself today, giving my first thoughts on the new film by half of the Safdie brothers, which is Josh. Ben Safdie earlier this year when they split, and Ben made The Smashing Machine with Dwayne Johnson. We reviewed that when that came out. This one is Josh Safdie making his debut, I believe, as a solo filmmaker with Marty Supreme, obviously, which is starring Timothy Chalamet. It's also got Gwyneth Paltrow in it and a small role by Tyler, the Creator, as well as Penn from Penn and Teller. I was not expecting to see him, but he was there. If you've somehow missed what this movie's about, it follows Marty, Timothy Chalamet, who is a pro-level table tennis player, but he's also kind of a con man. He does a lot of different things. And, so far the Safdie brothers, their catalog has been predominantly cautionary tales. It's stories about unlikable characters doing unlikable things, and they're usually very motivated characters, sometimes very successful characters, but usually have some sort of comeuppance in the end. You saw that with Uncut Gems, if you've seen that film. Sorry, spoiler, but that was like their kind of, not their debut film obviously, but the film that kind of put them on the map. And then Smashing Machine was a biographical film, but had a lot of those same character points. I actually just found out after I saw the film that Marty Supreme is based on a true story as well, loosely from what I understand, but still I thought it was completely fiction. But anyway, this is another kind of story where it follows maybe a lot of unlikable characters doing a lot of unlikable things. And that's, not my thing. Typically, I'm not an Uncut Gems fan. I saw that on Christmas as well. I just now realized that's a couple of Safdie movies on Christmas Day. Interesting. But yeah, I'm not, I like Whiplash, ironically. That's one of my favorite movies, and it's one of those stories about an unlikable, well, maybe he is a little bit charismatic, but he's not a good person, and it's a cautionary tale about obsession, which I do like some of those movies, Black Swan and stuff, but Uncut Gems, I guess when it's just characters that I find unrelatable and I don't like them, then those movies kind of fall apart, because I think I'm a highly motivated person, and sometimes that leads to what feels like obsession over things. So a lot of times these characters can be relatable, even if it's a cautionary tale. And so sometimes I get invested, but sometimes I really just don't, and I don't like the character, and I don't want anything to do with it. And oftentimes these movies have very unlikable characters. Oftentimes they're also misunderstood, like a Whiplash or a Wolf of Wall Street. Those movies are the kind of movies that they are cautionary tales, but a large percentage of the population doesn't get that and thinks they're motivational, not cautionary. So that is an interesting dynamic as well. But anyway, all that to say, I didn't think I was going to particularly like this movie. I'm not a Safdie fan. Don't like Uncut Gems. Didn't like The Smashing Machine. Haven't seen anything else by them yet. I forget the name of it, but the Robert Pattinson movie, it's like Good Times or something. That movie's considered really good, but so are there others, and I'm just not a fan of them typically. I kind of had gone into a rut with Timothy Chalamet, where I was just like, he's starting to get overhyped, because I liked him back in the day. I really liked him in Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell. Loved that movie. Thought he was great in it. And then, he was in the Dune movies, and I thought he was miscast in those. And he was, Wonka, and I was like, that movie sucked. So there was a lot of stuff leading me to believe that I wasn't going to like this movie. I also, based on the trailers, I'm like, who cares about this plot? Shocker, I enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't say it's the movie of the year. I'm still kind of struggling to figure out what this movie really is about. And that's all I'll say there, because I feel like that's a conversation for spoilers, which I'll probably get into in just a couple minutes here. But I did want to say, from a filmmaking perspective, this movie's awesome. It's really, really well made. The scoring is great. The acting is phenomenal. Timothée Chalamet is wonderful in this movie, and I'm sure he's going to get that Oscar nomination that he's really pushing for. Still not sold on the fact that he's going to win, but I think he should get nominated, and I'd be cool if he does. He won me back over, which it's funny because I kind of felt for a while like I was just being like a contrarian with him, because like I liked him before he was famous, and then he got really big and I'm like, okay, he's not that good. Kind of felt like the Robert Pattinson thing, actually, which I'm still not fully bought in on Robert Pattinson, but he's delivered some good performances. Off topic, but I think he's an overactor. Anyway, Timothée Chalamet, though, I think it's been really bad luck for him, or maybe just poor decision making, and he's just picked really bad roles. Where, Wonka, not saying bad for his career, but Wonka, he was terrible for that role, should not have been doing it. And Dune, like I said, I think it's a miscast. So even though it's been successful for him, happy for him, he's making a lot of money, it made me lose sight of the fact that he is a good actor when in the right roles. And then this reminded me that, oh, he is great. He's one of the best actors working right now, especially in that age category. He's young still. And I was like, oh, shoot, he is really good. And so I can actually like him, not just because he's charismatic and kind of a goofball when he promotes his stuff, So, yeah, I'm bought back in on Timothée Chalamet. Tyler, the Creator, I thought he was fun in this movie. He's barely in it, but he was good. I thought the whole cast was good, though. And I'm not, like, a huge fan of, like, Gwyneth Paltrow or anything, but she was good. Like I said, Penn from Penn and Teller is in this movie for some reason, and he was good. So I wouldn't say anybody really outside of Timothée Chalamet and Gwyneth Paltrow have a whole lot of screen time. I was actually shocked how little Tyler, the Creator, was in this. But everybody holds their own. Everybody's at least pretty good in this movie. I will say, what's his name? The guy from Shark Tank or whatever the fuck. Kevin O'Leary is in it for some reason. I don't think he's an actor. I think he typically just plays himself on like Shark Tank and shit. He's the idiot who said that we should use AI to replace actors. So fuck him. I mean, his acting was there. I don't know. Maybe we should have replaced him with AI. But yeah, no, fuck you. Your opinions suck. But other than that, I enjoyed the acting performance. I thought the filmmaking was very good. I pointed out in The Smashing Machine how much the camera work was a detractor. It was very distracting. And I guess maybe that was just a situational thing for the type of movie they were doing. Or maybe, we're seeing the difference between the Safdie brothers here. It is funny, though, how remarkably similar their movies are. Like, when you see splits with, like the Coen brothers, their movies are so different from each other. And you can kind of see the elements, the ingredients that would come together to make a good Coen Brothers movie split in half and sparsed around. Here you're watching it and you're going like, I just saw Safdie twice, The Smashing Machine and Marty Supreme. Sure, one movie was a lot better than the other, but I don't think that was because of the director behind it. Like, I thought the directing was probably comparable. Maybe it's hard to tell, but maybe Josh is a better director. The movie was certainly better, but that could also just be because of the script and because of the actors. Like, one of my biggest problems with Uncut Gems, aside from just not liking the story or the characters, but the acting is bad in Uncut Gems. I don't like Adam Sandler as a serious actor. I think he was bad in that movie. And then what is her name? Fox? Julia Fox. Yeah, she's awful, So that movie is kind of just like, and you've got an athlete trying to act, and you know how that goes. So it's like, it's a bad cast, that kind of ruins the immersion for me. This one had a great cast, and I felt like that was one of the biggest differences between this and an Uncut Gems. It made me buy in a lot more because the characters were more interesting because the actors were more interesting. Maybe the characters in Uncut Gems would have been interesting if the actors could have conveyed more emotions, or deeper thought than what they were able to. I don't know. So overall, like I said, this movie's good. I wouldn't say it's movie of the year. I know some people are saying that. I certainly liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. And the reasoning behind that is something I'm going to get mostly into in spoilers. Like I said, I didn't quite understand this movie entirely. And I don't think it's, my fault. I think it's a fault of the movie, but maybe I'm wrong. So I'll get into that in spoilers. I'm just going to leave it with, I think this movie's like a 7. It's definitely enjoyable. It's very high quality. I still don't like the story, for different reasons than Uncut Gems. Just saying, different reasons. I thought it was different issues, but like everything else, I for the most part liked. Maybe some of the pacing was weird too. There was some kind of scenes that felt so out of nowhere and didn't go anywhere. And also, this movie, it was interesting because I was comparing it to different directors in my head or different filmmakers, and I was like, this kind of feels like, a Scorsese film at times, or it kind of feels like a Paul Thomas Anderson film, and I kind of landed more in that area because it's one of those plots that's just like things happening. Kind of like Licorice Pizza, where I'm like, it doesn't feel like there's a plot here. It's just like, okay, this happened, now this happened, now this happened. And I'm not a huge fan of that type of storytelling either. So that's another detractor for me, I guess. But overall, like I said, 7 out of 10. A very well-made movie technically, with some great acting in it and some very solid directing and storytelling, even if there are some detractors there as well. So that's why I think I'm going to get into spoilers now. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you should click away, go watch it, come back, and we can talk about it then. But don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe. Also, by the way, I'm going to be on a mad dash to finish, I've got 15 movies I want to watch in the next week before the end of the year, so keep an eye out. I've got some more stuff coming. Justin will be back for some of it. I'll be by myself for some of it, but there's going to be a lot of content coming your way soon. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. Yeah, okay. I struggle with what this movie was trying to say, because I went into this kind of forgetting what I was expecting, and then I realized, oh yeah, this guy's a scumbag. Like, everything Timothée Chalamet's character does, everything Marty does, makes him a scumbag. He's unlikable. He's charismatic, but he's unlikable. Yeah, he is somewhat relatable because, nothing's gonna stop me. I want to get this shit, and I'm gonna make it mine, whether you like it or not. I appreciate those kind of stories, like Whiplash, like I said. But then I started to realize, so this is gonna be one of those cautionary tales, right? Like Uncut Gems. We're going down that route again. And then this movie doesn't have that ending. Spoiler! This movie, like you'd expect, he was gonna blow up his life. But then the movie tries to have, a shock twist into happy at the end, and the happiness doesn't feel earned, it doesn't feel real, and it's not satisfactory. So what happens, if you haven't seen it, is this whole time he's trying to make it big, make it rich, and he thinks his best shot at that is as a pro table tennis player. He's got other schemes going, but that's his main thing. He's trying to beat this one Japanese table tennis player that beat him at the World Championships or whatever. So now it's his goal to beat this guy, and he's in denial that that guy's better than him. It's because of his paddle, it's because he cheated, it's all this bullshit he keeps making up. And so then he finally is given an opportunity, he thinks, to play him again, but then realizes he can't get back into the tournament. The only way he can play him is through this bullshit scripted fake match that he's supposed to lose 21-14. He goes through with that, which shocked me. I thought he was just going to go off the rails then, but he goes through with it and then says, no, fuck it, I want to actually do a real game. And in that real game, he goes all out and he's able to beat him. And that feels like what would be the climax of this story, where okay, yeah, he beat him, but guess what, his life is still ruined, because he's still broke, he has no prospects, he's stuck in Japan now, and oh, by the way, he knocked up a girl that he's not in love with, and what's going to happen there? So it felt like it was the end of the world in a lot of ways. But then all of a sudden, boop, he's back home. He hitched a ride with the U.S. military, I guess. Cool. Awesome. And now he goes to visit the girl that I thought he wasn't in love with, but now he seems like he's in love with her. And he goes to see the baby, and he's all happy. Like, this is a good thing. And I guess it could be a good thing if you actually wanted this, but at no point did he act like he wanted it. He was refusing any sort of connection to the baby earlier in the movie, and he was telling her to get rid of it and give it up and all of these different things. And then now he's happy about it. It didn't feel earned, and it didn't make sense to me. So I just don't buy that it's a happy ending, but it also doesn't feel like a cautionary tale because we didn't see anything bad happen to him either. So I'm just kind of confused what the point of this movie was. Oh, an interesting thing I did notice though was like he's got a line in this movie at a certain point where he talks about like, I can't accept help from anybody. I have to do this on my own. And you're like, see, cautionary tale. You need to learn to accept help from people. No, that's not the way this movie goes. Anytime somebody tries to help him, honestly, tries to help him, they get fucked over. When Tyler, the Creator, tries to help him, his taxi gets blown the fuck up. When his girlfriend, if she tries to help him, she almost dies. She gets shot at. Also, she gets into a weird situation with her husband because, yeah, she has one. When Gwyneth Paltrow tries to help him, then something immediately goes wrong. It's just anytime somebody tries to help him, something goes wrong for them. Not for him. He's usually fine. He usually gets out of it okay. But everybody around him, something bad happens to them. It's like all of the bad karma coming his way rubs off into other people. And it's like, well, that's a shame. So that's an interesting idea, but I don't know if that's the point of the movie either because nothing's really made of it. And, you know, I don't need my movies to be spelled out, but if, like, you're trying to say a message or show something, I feel like it needs to be shown or said a little bit. Definitely a show, not say kind of guy, but, like, I don't feel like anything was outright shown. Maybe I missed it, but between that being vague as hell and the ending being confusing to me, I didn't feel like anything was really said with this movie, which maybe nothing was supposed to be said, but then what's the point of the movie? Just showing a crazy guy doing crazy things and getting away with it? I guess that's mildly entertaining, but why tell that story? What's the point of telling that story? For entertainment and entertainment only? Okay, cool, but that's not a great movie to me. I need, and maybe this is a personal thing, but like in order for me to consider a movie great, I feel like there needs to be a point. You know, like some people consider Star Wars or The Empire Strikes Back, one of those movies, like the greatest movie of all time. I'm like, no, because there's no point. It's fun. I really enjoy it, but how can that be a truly great film when it's popcorn? You know, it's not really art, and I know you can't define what is or isn't art, but to me, it's entertainment, not art. And maybe that's pretentious of me, but like this movie looks and feels like art, but then there's nothing behind it seemingly, so I don't get the point. So maybe I'm missing it, but it genuinely doesn't seem to have a point to me, which is weird because it looks and feels and sounds like it should, smells like it should. If it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, you'd think it's a duck, but I'm not seeing any sort of confirmation that it's a duck, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a little confused there. And, you know, I don't know. That, like I said, that detracts it from being a great movie down to a pretty good movie, as well as a couple little issues here or there. Like, I just felt, like I said, the pacing is weird where it's just like thing happens, then thing happens, then thing happens. But there's not like, the thing happens because, you know, there's no because. It's just, okay, now this and now that. The only because is, well, you did something shitty, so now you gotta worry about it, you know? Like, she is an idiot and tries to use the wrong dog to get the money, and so now he almost misses his flight, but he doesn't miss his flight, but she gets shot at. And it's just, it's like, things, sure, they're connected in a way, but it felt like they were making it up as they went. It didn't feel like there was a story arc to this, and I know it's based on a true story, but like I said, barely. Like, it's like any research I've done shows barely any connection. Like, there's a real guy that it's based on. Everything else is kind of made up from what I've read. So yeah, I can't even use that as an excuse. It just feels like they were just like This sounds like a fun idea. Now this sounds like let's just do this. Now let's just do that. There didn't seem to be a pre-thought out plan with the storytelling. And maybe you don't want that. Maybe you're a Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of guy. Maybe your favorite writer is John Hughes. He was the king of this happens and so this happens and so this happens. He very rarely seemed to have a plan. And a lot of people love that. A lot of people love his movies. Me, not so much. I mean, I get it. It feels authentic in a way. It felt like, sure, I guess all of this could happen, although it did get a little bit ridiculous at one point with the bathtub crashing through the floor into the other bathtub and crushing the guy's arm. I just like, where am I? That's when I shifted from this feels like a Scorsese movie to this feels like a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It was like, yeah, Scorsese doesn't do weird shit like this. So, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't exactly for me necessarily, but it did win me over in a lot of ways because the acting was so good, because the directing was so good, because the characters were so vibrant. Like, Timothée Chalamet's character is so goddamn funny. A lot of characters are very funny in this movie. The dialogue is so snappy. The situational humor is also great. And it's just, I was invested the entire time, except for a couple of moments when I stepped back and went, what is happening? But then I'd get right back locked in. So, I don't know. I really did enjoy it, but I also think it's kind of just a what was that kind of movie. I'm going to be thinking about it for a while, but it's certainly not like, wow, top 10 movie of the year. I wouldn't put it in my top 10. It's top 20 probably, but it's not, I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's a very interesting movie with some great moments. So, yeah, I think that's what I had to think. I think I'm going to end it there. Like I said, I'm pretty busy watching a lot of movies before the end of the year here. And I don't want to oversaturate you with my content here. I also don't want to bore you. So, going to keep it short and sweet. That's what I had to think. What did you guys think, though? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Also, don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe. And, of course, follow us on TikTok and Instagram as well. I'm not posting short form content at the moment because usually those are only funny moments, and with these next few videos probably going to keep it a little bit more serious and to the point, so maybe not as much short form content right there. But once we get back into the new year and back into the regular flow, lots of funny stuff over there, so please follow. You guys won't regret it. Thanks, guys. Bye.